Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, Pigskin Addicts. Back again with another video. So again, guys, I'm back. I already went over it in my first video back. Now, again, I'm trying to catch up on topics, right? I covered the first round pick in Quentin Johnston. I want to cover this entire 2023 Chargers draft class now. I think this is a very, very good draft class, but again, right, we learned lessons in 2022. So I am going to dive a little bit deeper into it here and explain my points a little bit better. So on paper, the 2023 draft class is probably one of the better draft class that I've seen from the Chargers in a while. And that's from top to bottom. So let's look at the picks, right? Let's look at all the picks, who the Chargers drafted, right? And I'm going to give my opinions, right? Some of them I'm going to give individually, but for the most part, I'm going to be talking about the draft class, as a whole. So let's go over all the picks here. Let's see what we got, right? So obviously round one, Quentin Johnston, wide receiver, TCU. Round two, Tuli Pelotu from USC. I love this pick. This was one of the ones that I tweeted about. I am a USC fan. I watch a ton of college football. I watched this guy. He dominated. He made plays practically every single game, and he was unblockable. So I think that this guy, out of all of the picks that the Chargers have, I think this guy could have the best rookie season, right? He can have the best rookie season out of all seven of these guys because I think he's a plug and play player right now, honestly. And he gives the Chargers much needed depth at the edge position, right? You're looking at a guy in Chris Rumph, who has not, really done anything in 2 years, right? You're bringing a guy off the edge, right, who played high-level football at USC, right? He played against, some offensive tackles that are going to play in the league and that are currently playing in the league. So, this guy, he's a plug-and-play player. He dominated. I love what he's made of. I thought this was an underrated pick, for the entire NFL draft, but I think this is a very, very, very good pick. The Chargers are going to be very happy with him. Round three, Deion Henley, the linebacker from Washington State. Now, this guy right here, I honestly think he could have been probably, maybe even a late first rounder, definitely an early second. But this guy suffers from playing on such a bad defense. Deion Henley, again, I'm a USC fan. Washington State is in the Pac-12. I keep up with them, very, very loosely, but he jumped out on tape, right? He definitely jumped out on tape. And when USC played Washington State this year, he definitely jumped out on tape. This guy suffers from being a very good defensive player on a very, very bad defense. Washington State is in the bottom, like I'm talking about the bottom 20 defenses for like the past 10 to 12 years in college football. Their defense has been awful, terrible. So when you're a linebacker who's playing at Washington State, right, you're going to have the chance to get a lot of tackles. You're going to have the chance to make a lot of plays because Washington State, the one thing that they do, they are very, very light up front. They have guys playing defensive end, defensive tackle who are very light, 250, 260, some of the heaviest guys that got on their team on the defensive line, 270, 280, right? You're obviously not going to play high-level football with guys like that small, right, in the trenches. So it's up to the linebackers to make a lot of tackles, a lot of plays, to read a lot of, what the offense does, right? So they're able to, take that first step, blow up plays, right? Stop the run, make a lot of highlight plays as a linebacker. That's what your job is at Washington State when you play on such a bad defense. Deion Henley, he definitely stuck out. I think this guy can be very, very, very good. And honestly, I thought it was a great draft pick as a tranquil replacement, right? He's a young guy, third round pick, so he's gonna have some time to develop into, possibly a starter in this league. So, again, that was another good pick from Tom Telesco and the Chargers. So round four, the Chargers went and got a speedster. This was the most shocking draft pick that I have ever seen the Chargers make. This was absolutely shocking. I was floored when I seen that the Chargers drafted this guy. This dude can fly. He can fly. He is a legitimate 4.35 guy, 4.35, 4.34, something like that. Every time you've seen him play, he can fly. He's small, but he can fly. He is a legitimate speed threat, legit speed threat. If you don't get somebody in front of him, he can outrun the entire defense, right? And with Herbert's arm, we know what can happen, right? That can be fireworks. But he's also a guy that gives you extra value returning kicks, returning punts, that type of stuff. So not only did the Chargers pick up a legitimate speed guy, but they got good value. They have their new return man, right? No longer is it DeAndre Carter, right? They got good value in this, so I loved it. Loved this pick. So another underrated pick, round 5, Jordan McFadden, offensive tackle out of Clemson. This is what you want to do when you're drafting linemen. And obviously all of them are not going to hit, but I want linemen on my team that have played big time football, right? That have lined up against guys who I know are going to play in the NFL, right? This is who I want on my team. The Chargers did it last year. Jamari Sawyer, big time football at Georgia, came in, solidified the left side of the line, right? He was pretty much, one of the big reasons why the Chargers were able to keep their heads above water, right? And even make the playoffs. He came in, he filled in for an all-pro level tackle, right? He was good. Very, very, very good. And he was a 6th-round pickup. Now you're looking at the 5th round, Jordan McFadden. This is a guy, offensive tackle, right? He played tackle at Clemson, but he's a guy that you can move around. He can be moved around to the inside, right? Guard. I don't know if he's played center or not, but I know he can be moved inside to guard, right? And I think he can play either side of the line. This is a guy with a lot of good football under his belt, right? Obviously played at a big program at Clemson. So he's played against, some of the top guys in college football. So he's seen a variety of pass rush moves, right? He has been bull rushed by some of the best, some of the strongest, right? So this is a guy I think you can pretty much plug and play, right? Now, obviously, he's not going to be starting, but to have a guy of this level, of this caliber as a backup on the offensive line is very, very, very good, and it's very assuring. I really, really like this pick, really like it. This is Jamari Sawyer all over again, I believe. So this is a great, great pick. Round six, Scott Matlock. I don't know much about him, defensive tackle out of Boise State. I really don't know much about him, right? The Mountain West, they have not really made as much noise as they have in previous years. They used to have a bunch of guys coming out of there at Boise State, going to the NFL. So I didn't watch a lot of Boise State, but everything that I've read, right, this guy has a good motor. He is a good teammate, and he's a depth piece, right? We've seen what happened. The defensive line got decimated last year. So if this guy can pretty much just anchor things up front, right? You don't need him to do a lot as far as the stats go. You don't need him to rush the passer. You don't need him to have, 10 or 12 tackles for loss, right? He's a guy that just has to be able to anchor. He is a defensive tackle, right? I assume he might be at that nose tackle position. Maybe he goes on the outside in the 3 technique. I don't know. But he's a guy, he has to eat up blocks. That's going to be his job. If he can just eat up blocks, pretty much do what Breeden Fehoko did, right? Pretty much drafting a replacement for him. If he can do that, eat up blocks, right? His numbers don't have to look, amazing or whatever. Eat up blocks. If he can do that, right, when he's in the game, he will be fine and he will make an impact as a 6th round draft pick. Last but not least, round number 7, Max Duggan, TCU. Loved it. I love this draft pick. I thought Max Duggan had a very, very good year last year. He was the runner-up for the Heisman this year. So he had a damn good year. His year kind of, snuck in out of nowhere. Nobody expected him to have this year. He was in a quarterback competition to start the 2022 season, right? And then he ends up, being the runner-up for the Heisman, right? So he obviously ascended. But I like this guy. He's a little bit older. I think he's 23, 24. He was in college for a while. This guy knows how to play football, right? And I think he's a quality backup. I do. I think he's a quality backup in the NFL. He obviously has to adjust to the NFL game. Playing at TCU is nothing but shotgun stuff. So he's obviously going to have to adjust to, taking snaps under center and all of that type of stuff. But he's going to have a bunch of time to do that, right? I would assume that Justin Herbert stays healthy, continues to, be healthy. So Max Duggan is going to have, pretty much all the time in the world to develop as a backup quarterback. He's obviously going to have to show, some good, teammate stuff, right? He's going to have to be a guy, clapping his hands and getting guys going, right? Because he's not going to play a lot. I think if he is going to play in this league, it's not going to be for the Chargers, right? If he is a guy, if he's one of these high quality backups who does get, poached, he might end up going somewhere else and getting his opportunity to start, but he will not be playing for the Chargers as long as Justin Herbert, is behind center. So, I do think that it is a good draft pick. Having this guy, as your backup quarterback. It also makes the Easton Stick signing a little questionable. They re-signed him to a 1-year deal, but they also drafted a quarterback in the 7th round. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But either way, I like the pick, and I think it was a solid draft altogether. So the 2023 draft, right? The picks. This is a good draft, right? But again, I'm going to learn a lesson that I did not, learn last year. This is all on paper, right? This is all on paper, and we really can't put too much stock into it until the season starts. We're going to hear a lot of stories in training camp. I'm going to believe nothing. I'm going to believe almost nothing that I hear in training camp because we heard it all last year. So I am going to believe what my eyes tell me. And my eyes are going to tell me that I cannot realistically assign a grade to this draft class until I see what they can do. Now, I do expect the top 4 picks, Quentin Johnston, Thule, Deion Henley, and Darius Davis. I do expect those guys to be on the field in some capacity this year, right? Consistently on the field. I do think that your top 4 picks are going to play consistently, right? If that happens, this is going to be a good draft. This is going to be a good draft because we've seen what happened last year, right? A lot of guys from the 2022 draft were unplayable this year, right? And whether or not that's you see it as a negative thing, right? The Chargers are in a position where they cannot really afford that. They have to draft guys who can come in and give you something. They don't have to star or anything like that, but they have to give you something. And that wasn't the case last year. So we have to learn our lesson, right? We cannot make the same mistakes over and over and over again. We got to let this draft class stew a little bit, right? We have to let them cook a little bit, and we have to see what they are able to do, right? I think preseason is going to give us a very, very good picture. It's going to make things a lot more clear, right? What guys are going to be doing, right? What they're, what's going to be expected of them, right? I think when you get into the preseason, you're going to start seeing that, right? Are guys running with the 1s? Are they with the 2s, right? You're going to see a lot of that. Right now, you're going to hear a lot of stories as well, too. Again, don't listen to anything. Are guys running with the 1s? Are they with the 2s, right? Are they getting good first-team snaps, good second-team snaps, whatever, right? If there's injuries that happen, do guys step in, step up? There's a whole lot that goes into this. So I am going to reserve judgment, and I am going to give this draft class a grade at a later day. Now, I will say I do like it. I like this draft class a lot. There's a lot of variety, and the Chargers filled a couple of very big holes on offense, right? As far as the wide receiver position goes, they got more explosive, right? And, they got more speed on the field. That's something that they needed as well, too. So this draft class, all in all, was pretty damn good on paper. But that's really all I can say right now. This was on paper. I like everything that they did. But, who knows, right? Once they strap them up and once they go out there and once they kick it off for real in September, then we'll know a lot more. But as of right now, we're just talking, right? So I like what I seen in the draft. And honestly, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that it went the way that it did, but pleasantly surprised. So, I have more on this, obviously, as the season goes on. But as of right now, I like it. I like what the Chargers did, and hopefully these guys are able to contribute in some capacity next year. But that is all I got for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for all the support. I really appreciate it. Shout out to all of my new subscribers. I appreciate you guys. Shout out to all of my old subscribers for holding me down for so long, right? I was gone. But I am back now, baby, and it feels good. So that's all I got for this one. But I will be back very, very soon with more content. We're going to be covering a lot. There's a lot to get into. A lot of articles that I'm reading and catching up. So we will definitely be getting into it. And can't wait to talk more ball with you guys. But that's it for now. Until next time.